Lesson: Legal aspects of employee monitoring tools. The implementation of employee monitoring tools has become a critical component in managing workforce productivity, ensuring security, and maintaining compliance in today's technologically advanced workplace. Despite the benefits, these tools pose significant legal challenges that HR leaders must navigate adeptly. Understanding the legal aspects of employee monitoring is essential for HR professionals who wish to implement these technologies while adhering to legal standards and maintaining ethical work environments. Employee monitoring involves tracking various employee activities, including internet usage, email communications, computer activities, and even physical movements via GPS. The primary legal concern is balancing the employer's right to protect their business interests with the employee's right to privacy. The legal framework governing employee monitoring varies significantly between jurisdictions, requiring HR leaders to be well-versed in both local and international laws. The European Union's General Data Protection Regulation is a prominent example of strict privacy laws affecting employee monitoring. The GDPR mandates that any processing of personal data, including employee data, must be lawful, fair, and transparent. Employers must have a legitimate interest, consent, or another legal basis for monitoring employees. Additionally, the collection of data should be limited to what is necessary for the intended purpose, adhering to the principle of data minimization. In practice, this means that HR leaders must conduct a thorough assessment to identify the specific business interests that justify monitoring and ensure that the methods used are proportionate to those interests. To effectively implement employee monitoring tools while complying with legal standards, HR leaders can utilize a framework known as the Privacy Impact Assessment. The PIA assists organizations in identifying and mitigating privacy risks associated with monitoring tools. This framework involves several steps: identifying the need for monitoring, evaluating the potential impact on employee privacy, consulting with stakeholders, and implementing safeguards to protect data. By conducting a PIA, HR leaders can proactively address privacy concerns and ensure compliance with legal obligations. For example, a company considering the implementation of email monitoring to prevent data breaches should perform a PIA to determine the necessity and scope of monitoring. The assessment would involve analyzing the types of data at risk, the potential impact on employee privacy, and possible alternatives to monitoring. Through this process, the company might decide that monitoring should be limited to specific departments dealing with sensitive information, thereby minimizing the intrusion into employee privacy. In the United States, the legal landscape is different due to the absence of a comprehensive federal privacy law equivalent to the GDPR. Instead, a patchwork of federal and state laws, such as the Electronic Communications Privacy Act and various state-level privacy statutes, govern employee monitoring. The ECPA generally prohibits the interception of electronic communications, but provides exceptions for service providers and employers who have obtained consent. Therefore, obtaining employee consent is a critical step for HR leaders in the U.S. when implementing monitoring tools. Consent should be informed, explicit, and documented to ensure legal compliance and protect the organization from potential litigation. To facilitate the consent process, HR leaders can develop a comprehensive monitoring policy that clearly outlines the types of monitoring conducted, the purpose behind it, and the data collected. This policy should be communicated to employees through training sessions and written documentation. Additionally, obtaining written acknowledgement from employees can serve as evidence of consent, providing legal protection for the employer. A case study highlighting the importance of clear monitoring policies is the case of Smythe v. Pillsbury Co., where an employee was terminated for sending inappropriate emails on the company's email system. The court ruled in favor of the employer, emphasizing that the employee had no reasonable expectation of privacy due to the company's clear email monitoring policy. This case underscores the necessity for HR leaders to establish and communicate transparent monitoring policies to mitigate legal risks. Beyond legal compliance, ethical considerations play a crucial role in employee monitoring. Monitoring practices perceived as overly invasive can lead to decreased employee morale and trust. Therefore, HR leaders should strive to create a monitoring environment that respects employee dignity while safeguarding business interests. Transparency, fairness, and accountability are key ethical principles that should guide monitoring practices. An actionable tool for promoting ethical monitoring is the development of an employee monitoring code of conduct. This code should outline the organization's commitment to ethical monitoring practices, including respecting employee privacy, ensuring transparency, and providing mechanisms for addressing grievances. By involving employees in the development of this code, HR leaders can foster a sense of ownership and trust among the workforce. Statistics demonstrate the growing prevalence of employee monitoring tools. According to a study by Gartner, 80% of companies worldwide use some form of employee monitoring technology. This widespread adoption underscores the urgency for HR leaders to understand and address the legal and ethical implications of monitoring. In addition to legal compliance and ethical considerations, HR leaders must also address the potential for disparate impact in employee monitoring. Disparate impact occurs when monitoring practices disproportionately affect certain groups, leading to unintended discrimination. For instance, monitoring tools that track employee productivity based on keystrokes or screen time may disadvantage employees with disabilities who use assistive technologies. To mitigate the risk of disparate impact, HR leaders should conduct regular audits of monitoring practices to ensure they do not unintentionally discriminate against protected groups. The implementation of employee monitoring tools also necessitates robust data security measures to protect sensitive employee information from unauthorized access and breaches. HR leaders should work closely with IT departments to implement encryption, access controls, and regular security audits. Additionally, data retention policies should be established to ensure that employee data is not retained longer than necessary, reducing the risk of data breaches and enhancing compliance with legal requirements. The legal aspects of employee monitoring tools present complex challenges that require HR leaders to be proactive, knowledgeable, and strategic. By utilizing frameworks such as the Privacy Impact Assessment, obtaining informed consent, developing transparent monitoring policies, and adhering to ethical principles, HR leaders can effectively navigate the legal landscape while fostering a positive and compliant work environment. As the use of monitoring tools continues to grow, staying informed about evolving legal standards and best practices will be critical for HR leaders aiming to balance organizational interests with employee rights.